This book is a very good intro to the sport of Russian Sambo. Hi guys, my name is Joe and welcome to my channel, Fighting Words, the Martial Arts Library. On this channel I take a look at martial arts books and review them, and I also talk about other martial arts related subjects. This week I'm going to be reviewing Sambo Wrestling by Reilly Bodycomb. Now, Mr. Bodycomb is a pretty well-known competitor when it comes to grappling in general. I know he's done some no-gi grappling. He's well-known in Sambo circles in the US, and I think probably in Europe, because I think he's medaled some over there. He's also put out a lot of instructionals. I don't know about a lot of instructionals. He's put out several instructionals, most of which I own, because I really like his material. He's sort of known for his dynamic throws as well as his leg lock system. So this book is actually pretty brief. It's actually under 100 pages long, but it does have color photos, so there's that. The color photos actually help once we get into the techniques. Mr. Bodycomb is wearing one color uniform, and his uke, or demo dummy, is wearing a different color. One of them is red, one of them is blue. Can't offhand remember which one's which. Now, the intro section itself is pretty brief. You know, sort of like, what is Sambo? And it's 2 paragraphs, and it just gives an overview about the very brief history on the development of Sambo, and compares it to other forms of grappling and presents some of the rules. Now, following that, we get a more in-depth section when it comes to rules, and he provides rules for both sport Sambo and freestyle Sambo. This is interesting to me. For instance, the opponent can be thrown from their knees. So if somebody's kneeling, you can actually get a full throw if you toss them on their back. Guard and half guard cannot stop a pinning position. In other words, if somebody has you trapped between their legs or has one of your legs trapped between theirs, you can still put their shoulders to the mat and hold them long enough to get a pinfall. Competitors are not allowed to close their guard. In other words, close their ankles together if they have you between their legs. And twisting leg locks are not allowed in sport Sambo. So among the more famous leg locks, you have heel hooks and toe holds, most of which involve a twisting action. Those are not allowed in sport Sambo, although I think they are allowed in freestyle Sambo. Once he gets into the technical section, we open up with a brief section on rolling and break falls, which is essential for any activity where you expect to be falling a lot or being thrown. And these sort of maneuvers help keep you safe and prevent injury. And frankly, I am such an advocate of break falls. I think that they should be taught to like grade school children, and probably reviewed, into adulthood, so little kids don't fall weird and break their arm, because we see that sometimes. Now, because this is such a short book, most of the technical stuff is highly focused. So for instance, he's got a section on basic throws, and those focus on something he refers to as a sacrifice throw, which I think the judo terminology would be a sumigaeshi, a lateral trip, which is something that's more commonly found in Western wrestling, the fireman's carry, and he also shows a number of finishes for the single leg takedown. Now, he does show some variations of all these different things, most of them in the grip, So again, we get a rather limited selection of techniques, but we get a bit more in-depth on those than you might get with a broader overview of techniques. He has a section on dynamic takedowns. Those are takedowns that all directly lead to submissions. These include the scissors takedown, and also what he calls the victor roll, or a rolling knee bar. And again, he sort of specializes in these dynamic moves. Past that, we get a section on mat work, and you get a lot of that. It's varied. So the first thing we get in there is somebody is turtled up, you pick them up and you slam them on their back, because that's totally legal in Sambo. You also get leg attacks versus a downed opponent. If they are turtled up, a lot of times he gives examples of hip cranks, or excuse me, calf cranks, and then he shows counters to the calf crank, which includes a hip crank. This also includes if the opponent is flat, which some people will do in pinning sports in order to not get rolled. He does show how to attack from there, including with a straight ankle lock. And that's all there really is to that book. In the pro section, I do like that it has a section for the rules of Sambo, and that they are illustrated. Like, they will give examples, picture examples of what is allowed and what isn't allowed. I also like the fact that we go in depth on some techniques, even though it's a smaller selection of techniques. I think that this would help a beginner sort of, let me pick this thing to work on, and now I have several variations of gripping or finishes that I can work on this one thing with. I think that is good for a lot of beginners. It's easy when you get started, especially in grappling, to see a lot of techniques get thrown at you and like, oh my gosh, what should I focus on first? And you can't be as good at everything across the board. So, hey, learn the fireman's carry. Get good at the fireman's carry. Here are different grips and setups for the fireman's carry. Take it and run with it. And like I said, the color photos really help a lot. He and his opponent, or his uke, his demo dummy, are in different color kurtkas. That's what they're called. It looks like a gi. Superficially, it's not. It's a little different. Anyway, on to the cons. So for the cons, it's very brief. Like I said, I was able to give you guys an overview of what's in the book in, I'm not paying attention to the timer, but probably less than 5 minutes. I like it for what it is, but it definitely could have been a lot longer. Another minor point is like the counters to the submissions. Like, he's showing again, how to attack a guy on a turtle go with a calf crank. Well, you can counter that with an arm bar. Okay, so why don't we get any individual instruction on an arm bar? I think that would have helped if we got more of that. So, recommendations. I don't know. I mean, if you have an interest in jacketed grappling, if you have an interest in Sambo in particular, there's not a whole lot out there in the English language. Maybe if you have a judo or possibly a Brazilian jiu-jitsu background and you are curious as to techniques that might distinguish Sambo from your own sport, this is going to be pretty good bang for your buck for that. It can help round out your arsenal, maybe if you aren't already practicing some of these techniques. So I think it could be good for that. So I know this has been brief, but also the book was brief. It's really short. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.